Shalom, my dear friend. Sit down. You know, there are truths in life that we trample like dust on the road, until one day life strikes us so hard that we fall to our knees and cry out into the emptiness. And in that silence, we finally begin to hear. My name is Aaron Schwartz, and today I want to tell you a story that cost me half my life, but saved my soul. Why do some people live in joy and abundance, while others spend years smashing their heads against the wall, collecting nothing but scars? I searched for the answer for a long time, and this is what I understood. The world is a vast, cold mirror. It does not give you what you ask for. It gives you what you believe about yourself. If inside you whisper, "I'm not worthy, this is good enough for me, I don't deserve better," then life, like a diligent servant, will confirm that belief every single day. It will hand you jobs where you are not valued. It will place you in relationships where they drain you dry. I was 20. My grandfather, may his memory be a blessing, sat at the old kitchen table. Steam rose from the glasses of tea. He looked at me with wise, endlessly tired eyes. "Ehrenchik," he said softly, "if you do not respect yourself, don't expect the world to serve you respect on a golden platter. The world is merciless with those who do not know their worth." I brushed it off. I was a good boy. I believed humility meant staying silent, being convenient, always yielding. Grandfather only shook his head. "No, my son, what you call humility is simple fear, and between humility and fear lies an abyss as long as a lifetime. One leads to light, the other into a deep pit." I didn't understand him then, but life is a stern teacher. First she whispers, then she speaks clearly, and if you still pretend to be deaf, she strikes without warning. My moment came at 35. Everything collapsed in a single night. The job where I endured humiliation for 7 years shut down. The people to whom I gave my time, money, and soul disappeared the moment my phone stopped ringing. I lay in an empty apartment, staring at the ceiling, howling at the injustice. Why? I was such a good person. And then it hit me like lightning. I wasn't good. I was convenient. I didn't live. I agreed. I agreed to pennies instead of a salary. I agreed to words that wounded me because I was afraid to offend in return. I treated myself like discounted merchandise, and the world simply placed me on the clearance shelf.
In our tradition, there is a word, kavod. It means honor, respect, but its root also means weight. Do you understand, my friend? When you know your worth, you become heavy, not with arrogance, no, with substance. Your words gain weight, your steps grow firm. But a person who does not value themselves is like an empty sack. Any opinion blows them away. Any "what will people say" bends them in half. I began changing my inner dialogue. Inside each of us lives an overseer who hisses, "You ruined it again. Look at your neighbor, he's better." I showed that overseer the door. Instead of saying, "I have to," I began saying, "I choose." Feel the difference. In the first, you are a slave. In the second, you are the master. Before I tell you how one short sentence made my tyrannical boss fall silent forever, I want you to answer something, honestly, just to yourself. Do you value yourself? When someone shouts at you, do you stay because you're afraid to lose them? Or do you walk away because you are not a trash can for someone else's emotions? If you feel that it's time to stop being convenient, press like. Let that be your small yes to yourself. For 7 years, I worked for a man who loved to dominate. He would shout across the office, humiliate people in front of everyone. And I endured it. I told myself I was above it. But one day, when he opened his mouth again to pour dirt over me, I simply looked him in the eyes, calmly, without anger. And I said, I cannot continue like this. My time has value. My dignity has value. Either we speak the language of respect, or we do not speak at all. Do you know what happened? He did not fire me. He did not explode. He fell silent, looked at me as if seeing me for the first time, and quietly said, "All right, agreed." In that second, I understood something eternal. The world respects the one who respects himself. It is a law as old as the mountains. And this, my friend, is only the beginning of our path. Ahead, I will share the wisdom of the Talmud that my grandfather revealed to me, and 3 steps that will transform you from an empty sack into a person of weight. Are you ready to continue? You know, my grandfather used to repeat a bitter but honest truth. He who considers himself nothing makes worthless everything he has. Do you understand what that means? When you devalue yourself, everything in your hands loses its shine. Your work turns into hard labor. Your home becomes just 4 walls. Your life becomes nothing more than waiting for the end of the shift. But when a person recognizes their inner weight, even a crust of dry bread eaten with dignity feels more nourishing than a royal feast where you're treated like a fool. When I was at my lowest, my grandfather told me a story. A student once came to a rabbi and said, "Teacher, I feel like a nobody. No one values me. What should I do?" The rabbi silently took an old coin from his desk and said, "Go to the marketplace. Find out what they'll offer you for it, but don't sell it for less than 1 piece of silver." The student went. The merchants laughed in his face. "1 whole silver coin for that old disc? It's worth a broken penny at best." He came back in tears. Then the rabbi said, "Now go to the jeweler." The jeweler took the coin, pulled out his lens, studied it carefully, and whispered, "I'll give you 10 gold pieces for this right now. This is an extremely rare item." The student ran back, breathless with astonishment. And the teacher said, "You see, my son, to learn your true value, you don't go running through the marketplace among money changers. You go to those who understand gold. Do not seek confirmation of your worth from those who do not possess it themselves."
From that day on, I understood something. If you are overlooked, disrespected, wiped on like a doormat, don't rush to change yourself. Change your environment. Walk away from those who see you as a dusty coin from a market stall. Go toward those who see in you the craftsmanship of the Creator. Strong people are not afraid of those who stand taller than they do. In the presence of dignity, you do not shrink, you grow. When I began to value myself, the parasites disappeared. I didn't chase them away. They simply fell off like dry bark because I no longer matched their expectations. I was no longer convenient little Aaron who always said yes and gave away the last piece of bread even when he himself was starving. Many believe you can only respect yourself once you are flawless. Nonsense. Each of us carries scars, mistakes, dark basements in the soul. To respect yourself does not mean to be a saint. It means not betraying yourself even when you stumble. You fell? Get up, but do not beat yourself for it. You said something foolish? Apologize, but do not humiliate yourself. You are human, and that alone is enough to deserve a life of dignity. It is easier to bend than to stand straight, easier to mumble, "Well, fine, let it be," than to hold a pause and say firmly, "No." But only the one who stands on his own feet can move forward. My friend, if you are tired, start small. Stop apologizing for your feelings. When it hurts, say, "It hurts." When you don't want something, say, "I don't want this." Not from pride, from quiet strength. You may ask me, "Aaron, how do I begin if I've spent my whole life being convenient?" Self-worth cannot live on beautiful quotes. It is a practice, daily, like a morning prayer. And the first step is your inner dialogue. Listen to how you speak to yourself in the darkness of your own mind. For many people, there is a constant war in there. You failed again. You're worse than others. You don't deserve it. Tell me, if you spoke like that to a friend, would he stay with you for even an hour? So why do you allow yourself to be your own harshest enemy? Let me suggest an experiment. Right now, close your eyes for a moment and say, "I am who I am, and that is enough." Feel how those words settle on your heart. If you are ready to live the next week without attacking yourself for every small mistake, write in the comments, "I choose peace with myself." Let that be your word of honor. In the next part, I will share 3 specific actions that make a person heavy, a person of true weight. I will show you how to say no without guilt and how to teach the world to respect your boundaries. Are you ready to become the jeweler of your own life? My dear friend, my grandfather used to say, "First learn to speak to yourself as you would to someone you love, then the world will begin to speak to you in the same language." These are not pretty words from a book. This is the physics of the soul. We've grown used to being defense attorneys for others and prosecutors for ourselves. But if you are your own enemy, why should the world become your ally?
Step 1. Silence the inner overseer. Every time you catch yourself in that familiar self-attack, "I failed again. You always ruin everything." Stop and say, "I am human. I am doing the best I can. I have the right to make mistakes." This is not self-indulgence. It is the foundation of respect. Respect is not born from perfection. It is born from acknowledging your humanity. Step 2. Time is your blood. Respect your time. It is the only resource the Creator gave you with no possibility of refill. How many times have you said yes when everything inside you was screaming no? Every time you give your time without inner consent, you cut away a piece of your own value. Stop apologizing for your boundaries. Want to be alone? Say calmly, "I need some time to myself." Can't help? Don't mumble excuses. Just say, "I'm sorry, I can't right now." At first, people may be surprised. Some may even be offended. But later, they will begin to respect you. Because when you respect yourself, you silently give others permission to do the same. Step 3. Don't be a mirror for other people's faces. We live in the age of likes and ratings. It's a trap, my dear one. True strength is knowing who you are, even when the room is silent and no one is applauding. In Jewish wisdom, there is a saying, "Do not be a mirror for other people's faces. Be a light for your own path." Live by your principles, even if no one understands them. The world always makes space for the one who stands upright. Step 4. The compression test. This one is painful. Look at your relationships. Love is when being near someone makes you want to grow. But if around a certain person you constantly feel the need to shrink, to become smaller, quieter, less visible, just to avoid anger or disapproval, that is not love. That is dependence. Sometimes leaving is not betrayal. Sometimes it is the only way to save your soul from slow suffocation. There was a woman who endured a tyrannical boss for 10 years. He shouted, belittled, humiliated her. She was afraid to leave. Children, loans, fear. But one day she said, "Enough. I am not a trash can." She quit with no plan. Was it terrifying? Yes, down to the trembling of her bones. But the world, seeing her firmness, opened a door. Within a month, she found a position where she was valued as an expert. Today, she leads a department and earns twice as much. The world was simply waiting for her to value her own work. Step 5. Your environment is the soil. We are all like vessels. If you are surrounded by people who constantly pour doubt and criticism into you, you will never shine. Seek those who say, "You can do it. I believe in you." That is not coincidence. That is energy. I once had a friend who constantly complained, "The world is against me." I told him, "No, the world is just reflecting your sour expression." He changed his approach. He began to value his word, stopped complaining, started acting. Within a year, his business improved. Even his health recovered. Because when there is order inside, the outside begins to align. My friend, look at your life right now. Is there a person or a situation that makes you shrink? Just acknowledge it. You don't need to burn bridges today. Simply see it clearly. If you feel ready for the truth, leave an exclamation mark in the comments. Let it be your signal to yourself. I see everything. In the final part, I will reveal the 6th and deepest principle. We will speak of honesty, the kind that becomes the foundation of peace. And I will tell you what that freedom looked like, the freedom my grandfather spoke of before he left this world. Are you ready to walk this road to the end? My friend, if you are not living in truth with yourself, how can life be truthful with you? Weakness is not your enemy. It is only a signpost whispering, "Here you need to grow. Here you need to strengthen. And here, do not be afraid to ask for help." But the deepest, 7th rule of wisdom is gratitude. When you truly value yourself, gratitude turns ordinary things into treasures. Your home becomes a place of strength. A piece of bread becomes a celebration. I made it my rule to say 3 words every morning. I am grateful to be alive.
Sometimes I whisper it in exhaustion, sometimes with a smile. But day after day, those words take root deeper inside me. To value the gift of your life is the highest form of respect for the Creator. Do not wait for Monday. Do not wait for a new chapter. Take one step today. Ask yourself honestly, where am I betraying myself? And begin to change it, gently, without violence, slowly but firmly. At first, it will be frightening. Old habits will pull you back into the familiar pit where you were unhappy, but at least everything was predictable. But if you stay the course, you will witness something close to a miracle. The world may not change, but you will. And then, silence. You will stop apologizing for your feelings. The drama will fade,
The emotional vampires will disappear. And in that silence, for the first time, you will hear your true voice. In the darkest hour of my life, an old rabbi once told me, "Aaron, God does not make people small. People agree to be small." We often confuse humility with self-belittlement, but true humility is knowing your immense worth, created in the image of the Creator, and not demanding that others confirm it. My dear listener, if these words stir something in your heart, pain, hope, recognition, know that it is your dignity awakening. We gather here to learn how to stand upright together. Subscribe to this circle, not for numbers, but so that in your darkest hour, this thread of wisdom is always within reach. Let us walk this path side by side. But I must warn you, to become yourself, you must pass through the test of loneliness. When you begin saying no to what destroys you, some people will leave, some will feel offended, some will say, "You've become selfish." Let them go. That is the price of growth. To fill a vessel with clean water, you must first empty it of the muddy. Moses spent 40 years tending sheep in the desert before leading his people to freedom. Why? Because before you can lead others, you must learn to stand alone without losing yourself. Remember this old Jewish parable. A man dies and arrives in heaven. An angel asks him, "Why did you not become Moses?" The man trembles. "But I'm not a prophet. I could never have been Moses." The angel smiles. "We never wanted you to become Moses. We wanted you to become yourself." That is the whole secret. Value yourself not for who you could have been, but for who you are right now. Kindness without self-respect is submission, but kindness joined with dignity, that is a force that changes the world. Do not be afraid to move slowly. Self-respect is like a tree. At first, you water dry soil for a long time, and nothing seems to happen. Then, one day, a small shoot breaks through, and someday, your children and grandchildren will rest in its shade. Everything is in your hands. No one will give you permission to be worthy. That decision belongs only to you. The moment you stop asking for approval, life will open doors you never even imagined. Take care of yourself, my friend. A person who knows their worth is not afraid to be themselves, and the world always bows its head before the one who has found the light within. Shalom. May your path be filled with light.